All right, hello everybody. Why don't we get started? My name is Kevin Young. I am the Chief Marketing Officer for ToolsGroup. And ToolsGroup, we are a supply chain planning software company. And I'm going to be joined today in my presentation with Chrysanthi Tavares, who is with us, who's going to share a real story. So I'm going to talk a bit about where we're going, and then she's going to tell the real story of transformation and success. And what I'm here to talk about is a new era in supply chain planning. I'm going to talk about traditional models, why traditional models cannot work anymore in the world of volatility that we're in, and I'm going to give you a bit of a sneak peek on what the future is going to look like. And then, of course, we're going to have a case study of real results where you see the future really is now. And we call this always-on planning. Ambient decision intelligence, we'll talk about this. It's a term, but what's the challenge? I think we're all familiar with the challenge, and the challenge is stability or lack of stability. We've always dealt with things in the past as supply chain leaders. We've dealt with recessions, technology revolutions, but now it's different. Tariffs, geopolitical conflicts, the rate of disruption is coming faster and faster and faster. And the question isn't, what's the next disruption going to be? It's are you ready? Is your model going to be ready? Is your systems, are they going to be ready? And when we think about the old model and the new model, it becomes pretty clear that the old model has to change. Right? The old model is based on certainty. The old model is based on predicting the future. And everything is about if I can predict my demand better, if I have a better, more accurate forecast, then all of my plans are going to work better. But it's a very static approach. It's a slow-moving approach. It's an approach that's great in very stable times. It's an approach that is terrible in the sort of times that we're in today. And you're basically chasing certainty. You're building a false sense of security that you've got the perfect view of the future. And guess what? No one can predict the future. So what is the new model? This is a model that we're building at ToolsGroup. And we have some of this, and some of this we are building out right as we speak. But the new model is based on probabilities. It's underpinned with a probabilistic digital supply chain twin. So not only can we see what's happening and monitor what's happening, but we're looking at the range of outcomes that we expect for everything, right? So you can understand what's the probability that the demand forecast is actually going to be accurate. What's the probability that that supplier is going to be able to make that delivery shipment? And because it's a digital supply chain twin, anomalies can be spotted and identified and automatically brought to light. In this new model, you'll have more control over demand than you've had before. You will be able to shape demand and optimize supply. What did we always do in the past? Predict demand and then try to balance the supply to that demand. We want to give control to both sides of this equation. Another thing that you're going to see is very continuous, dynamic scenario analysis. Right? This is where the AI power comes in. There are agentic AI bots that will be monitoring this digital supply chain twin. They will be running scenarios in the background all the time, all the time, all the time. What if this happens? What if this happens? And ready for the unexpected as it occurs. Another big change in the new model versus the old model. In the old model, your input is your plan. You build a plan, and then the output is the business metrics. How does that plan perform? The new model takes those goals and makes them the input. So you can input your service level targets. You can input your margin targets. You can input your cost reduction targets. And then all the decisions that are being made guide you to those outcomes, right? Because at the end of the day, the goal is not to try to predict the future better. The goal is to steer performance, right? To have a system that is there at your side, recommending the right moves and the right decisions to guide that performance. And the underpinning of this is what we call ambient decision intelligence. But this is where the AI comes in, both generative AI and agentic AI. Now, I'll just explain those two for 1 second. Maybe you know, maybe you don't. These get a little confusing. Agentic AI, generative AI is the large language models, the ChatGPTs of the world, and they are linguistic geniuses, right? You can speak with it, it can speak back to you. And then there is agentic AI, and this is the new thing that's coming, and these are the bots. These are the bots that can actually execute in the systems in the way that a human would execute in the systems. And it's those combination of things that allow what we call ambient decision intelligence, because this is intelligence that's always on, it's context aware, it understands the objectives that you're trying to achieve, and it is constantly helping the teams make the decisions to keep you on those objectives. And it's omnipresent, it's embedded everywhere. One of the things that I get asked a lot is, give me a good use case for AI. Like, give me a use case, like, so we can do a use case. And actually, the AI becomes the whole user interface. Like, everything is going to be infected not infected, it is going to be infected with AI. Infection is the wrong word, but it's going to be there and everywhere as you need it. And it's just a different way to think about the job and think about the way the work is done. And I'm going to tell you a dirty little secret. Generative AI is really good with language. You can have a conversation, it will speak back to you. It is terrible at math. Terrible at math. Cannot do mathematical algorithms. And so the way in which we're going to make this work, you need a mathematical underpinning, a very strong mathematical decision-based framework, and then you layer that with the AI, and you've got something that's really magical. And in our systems, we have at the underpinnings probabilistic forecasting and probabilistic supply planning, the ability to always understand a range of outcomes to be ready for those outcomes. We've got the ability to shape and shift demand to match your needs and supply. We've got agentic AI assistants who are going to help make the job easier for the planners. We've got optimization engines that optimize all sorts of things across the supply chain. And this is the foundation. And if you don't have a good, strong foundation upon which to build AI, then you're going to have a really nice conversation, but the decisions and suggestions that the AI makes are going to be poor, and it's not going to drive you to better outcomes. And the role of a planner is going to change, but we don't see planners getting taken away in this equation. We see planners getting elevated, actually, right? Elevated, because today what do planners do? We just read a study, and it said that 85% of a planner's time is spent on task completion, kind of manual tasks that just have to happen week in and week out, and it's pretty boring, and it's pretty dull. And your planners get pretty mad after a while that they got to keep doing this kind of work. Only 15% of their time is spent doing strategic work. So we want to change that game. We want to get them out of just worried about tasks. We want to get them out of firefighting. We want to get them out of managing exceptions and explaining misses, which a lot of the work is explaining why the plan didn't predict what actually happened, and get them into a more strategic place, right? Understanding the strategy, being able to build scenarios and think about those what ifs, supervising the AI agents. They need guardrails, they need guidance, they need monitoring, right? You can't let these things run wild all by themselves. It's a different role for a planner, right? You want your planners to spend more time in the business. You want your planners to spend more time collaborating with the key commercial partners that they work with. And this is the world that we're moving to, where they're going to be freed from some of these menial tasks and allowed to do the more strategic things. And the results are impressive, but I'm not going to talk about these results. I'd like to welcome up to the stage Chrysanthi. And Chrysanthi is the head of demand and supply planning at Kotsavolis, who is one of the largest electronics retailers in Greece and in Cyprus. And please take it away.
Thank you. So, good evening, everyone. I'm Chrysanthi Dzivara. I'm the head of demand and supply planning in Kotsavolos, where we're really proud to empower people to live a better life through technology. I'm here today to share my real-life experience of how, if you harness a little bit of intelligence and automation into the planning tools, such as ToolsGroup that we work with, you can sharpen your planning accuracy, and you can release time for your people to actually do what they need to do, and of course, to elevate the customer experience. I'm going to very quickly introduce myself. I've been working in supply chain for 19 years in various of roles and various of industries. I started with Unilever to do demand planning and Nestle to do all of the supply aspects, and did all of the operating model for the global business with GSK here in the UK, and moved on to DIY with Leroy Merlin. And now for the past 5.5 years, I've been with Kotsavolos. So who is Kotsavolos really? Kotsavolos is one of the leading electrical and electronics retailers in Greece. We want to be everywhere and for everyone. And in order for us to do that, you can understand that there's a little bit of complexity in our supply chain. So We have 100+ stores in Greece and Cyprus. We have multiple concepts, so big, small, medium concept stores, wide concept, K-spot, you name it, we've got it. We've got 2 central distribution centers, 10 regional hubs, 9 fulfillment centers. We do multi-channel operations. We are online, we are digital, we got marketplace, B2B, B2C, B2G occasionally. And we roughly replenish about 40K max units per day to our stores. We have approximately 20,000 unique SKUs, and we have multiple categories. So we work with fridges, cooking, to straighteners for the hair, to smartphones, computers, laptops, gaming consoles. So it's a quite large span. So really the complexity is quite big. And here I've got a few pictures just for you to see that we've got from large stores to live displays and concept stores. There you can see the multi-layers of the store and the different span of the products. So we work with ToolsGroup, and what we do is, this is the system where we plan. We do all of our planning within ToolsGroup. We have a daily input of various different things from the ERP and other systems. So we give them sales, stock, network, SKU database, customer orders, and business parameters. We have a manual input online into the system if we want to adjust and change all of these parameters that we want to work with. And we work with our store digital twin, where we gather all of that data and we provide that into ToolsGroup to make the most clever decisions that I will be sharing with you. So that gives us a forecast, it gives us a replenishment plan, it gives us a supplier ordering plan, and of course alerts and reporting and any ad hoc reporting and projections that the planners might need. We get forecasting for at least a year ahead. We also get inventory optimization in the meantime, replenishment for 180 days ahead, supplier ordering proposals for 180 days ahead. And what's really important to say is that 95% of the planning processes are being done within ToolsGroup, within the tool, within SO99. Of course, we use ERP because this is where our live sales and our live stock levels exist. And of course, we use Excel, who doesn't? But actually, it's only a minimum amount that we use it for our planning purposes, which is really important. So before I jump into our real case scenario, I just wanted to share with you, so what really makes a supply chain truly exceptional? And let's be honest, everyone in this room has always pursued the same thing. We look to have the right product at the right place, at the right time, at the right cost, everything at the right time. And how did we define success? We always said we want to do things efficiently. We want to have scales of economy, reliability, to do things cheaper, to do things faster. That's not the case anymore. Today, all supply chains must be intelligent, they must be connected, and they must be predictive. And we're talking about a live ecosystem. We're not talking about a supply chain anymore, where obviously technology will anticipate demand. AI will augment those decisions, and where people are actually empowered to make quick and sharp decisions. So what we're chasing has changed. And it's not about delivering products anymore. It's about delivering customer experiences. All retailers really do have similar products, and they do manage to match pricing, to be completely honest. What is a game changer is that experience that stays with the customer long after the purchase is done, and that relationship that you build with them. You don't want people to run from task to task anymore. You just want to unlock productivity for people. Why? Because we want to be present. We want to be present in the decisions. We want to be present in our meetings. We don't want to just tick the boxes. And of course, it's not about moving faster anymore, is it? It's about create competitive advantage in real time. The more real-time data we can get, the more we can incorporate all of that intelligence into the systems. So what did we do? We wanted to redefine our planning, and we focused on replenishment for this time by introducing a strategic automation into the way we replenish into our stores. We actually used the MDA category, which is the major domestic appliances. So fridges, as I said, cookers, dishwashers, washing machines. Why did we pick that category? First of all, if we look at the customer, because, well, really, when they're walking into their journey, it's far easier if they want a hair straightener and you don't have it in the store to actually propose something else. And you can make the display look a little bit better, and it's simple. But really, when somebody comes in and asks for a 2-door large fridge, well, I don't really know what you can put in there if that fridge is not in its place. And if they have come just for that and they don't find it, it's really disappointing. Second of all, obviously, there is a quite heavy impact into the revenue because it's a large category and the average price is quite high. And of course, my team has spent hours trying to do this manually, and we never get the results we wanted to. We never got to the level we had to be. So how did it work till today? I had a planner living in the magic land of Excel, where we had data in there telling them how much stock does the store have and what is the product mix that need to be in there. And we would compare and say, okay, I should have 10 fridges, I have 9. I look at which 9, okay, I have 1 out of stock in there, so I have to replenish that. Imagine what happens when a customer comes in and they really cancel an order, and that different kind of fridge stays there and the store just puts it into the wrong place. And we've just sent another fridge into the store at the same time. There's no way you can do this manually. So what we did is we started with the commerciality of the store. We said it's not about an out of stock anymore. It's about having the right display product mix, because our commercial team has spent all of that time making sure that in this area, this is the product mix that we need to have. This is the brands that we need to share. This is the average price that we need to be holding. So it's not about putting anything that you can just to reduce the gap. It's about putting the right product where it belongs. So we got all of that input from the commercial team, and we put that intelligence into the system. And we said, okay, there's a specific product mix and you can get an update of that every night. All of our data gets updated and recalculated every night. And anything that's outside that product mix, shut it down. Shut it down, and that automatically eliminates the human error that says, okay, in 10,000 lines of Excel, I've sent this product twice. I made a mistake. That doesn't happen anymore. And not only that, we said, look, if you don't have the right major product, do you have an alternative one? Okay, if I have a supply issue, go and look for the alternative one and put that in for me. And when the right product comes back in stock, make sure that when the stock is replenished in store, you bring me back the right product. Why? Because I want to have an up-to-date store product mix for my customer. And what did we do? We had a digital twin in the store that shows where every product is, and we worked with e-labels. So every product that is displayed has an e-label, and it has all of the information that a customer needs to see. But we got all of that information into our planning system, and we said, okay, we are going to know which place does not have an e-label. So we're going to know that there's an out of stock in there. And not only that, we're going to go one step further, and that e-label is going to tell us if there is a product that is the wrong product. But still, I don't want to know what product it is. I want to know it's taking a position. So don't send another product in, because you're creating an issue to the store. So we got all of that into the model, and the model makes an automated decision based on all of these rules, recalculates the data every day, makes sure it completely turns off what we don't need to send, make sure it sends what we need to send, and if we don't have the right product, you send the alternative one, and you keep with the levels of stock that we want to maintain. And we created a self-optimizing supply chain that was really important, because it converts all of this data into decisions. My planner doesn't have to decide what to send in anymore. And what they do is they spend their time really thinking if there is a different issue with their forecasting, if there's a different request from the store because they said, look, I have a customer that's actually requesting for a different brand. Maybe we can help the commercial team rethink about their product mix. It's really important that they get the time to do this. And just to say a few things about the results, because that's what you're all thinking, I don't see numbers, and you want to see numbers. The moment we did this, within a week, we got a 40% decrease in out of stocks in the stores. Do you know what that 40% was, it was a human error that we couldn't cover. And it was everything that we couldn't do manually. Because let's face it, with 100 stores, there isn't any way that one person can really sit in Excel and predict all of that. It's impossible. We tried it. So we got immediate decrease in the out of stock. We gained 1 day in replenishment. Why? Because we were getting faster data. We were getting data from the e-labels. So we knew exactly what was happening the night before. And you know what? Nothing really changed till the day after because the store was closed. So we gained all of that for the store. We eliminated, as I said, the human error, which is impossible to avoid, as you can understand. And we stopped communicating so much with the store about those out of stocks, where people day in, day out, they would call the team and say, but this came and this came twice, and why did it come? And you had to do an analysis and understand why did you even send that at the beginning, where you didn't have that historical pattern to understand it. So that stopped, and our conversations are much more quality conversations, I have to say. We all had one single unified view. It was the first time where we said, you know what? In this store in Athens, you have 10 out of stocks. And if you're going to walk in this time in the store, you're going to see those 10 out of stocks. You're not going to see anything different. This is what you see here in your reporting. This is what you're going to see in the store. So we gained credibility, and that was really important. And we gave visibility. Nobody knew. You know, you have a store that calls and says, I'm out of stock. You're out of stock on what? I can't even help you, you know? And it's a cultural transformation because people started thinking about the right product mix. People started thinking about what should I have in this store for my customer. It wasn't about closing that gap and just putting yet another case of a product. So it was really important for us. For us, AI is not just a technology. You know, it's pretty obvious, it's a strategic imperative. And this is exactly what we did. We definitely hit that I letter of intelligence, and we put all of that into the system because we wanted to have a live ecosystem. All of these things that you see here are data from either different systems, different teams, different inputs to make sure that we as supply chain, we are revenue enablers. We're not just casting people in there who nobody wants to talk to us. We play a different role in the organization today. And it's important because you have data which thinks, and you have systems which decide, and then you have people who lead. Because you obviously need people to do all of that. It's not just about, you can have the best system in the world. If you don't have the right people on board, it will never work. So what I would like to say to sum this up is that it's very clear for us. We are going to scale AI and agentic capabilities. As I said, we hit the I letter. We're really looking forward to the A letter now, and what you're going to bring to us, so we can really give back time to our people to be able to think, to be able to perform, to be able to decide. You have to unlock humans' potential, because it's only them who can do all of the judgmental part. And, of course, we can transform our customers' value. Thank you very much for your attention. I'll be happy to take any questions. Hi.
You said about communication and visibility, and you talked about the predictive modeling and the forecasting. Does the system allow for your planners for explainability when they're saying why the forecast changed on a certain horizon with your commercial partners? So can they go into the system and say, this is the recommendation, this is why this change was recommended within the system?
Yes, I'm going to give you my perspective, and if you want to share more about what's coming, because I think it's interesting. What we do is the system allows us to monitor the forecast and to actually input comments and input little summaries in there. So even if something happened, a year ago, you can still see what you've written down there. When your planner changes and they've left the company, you really don't know what's happening. You have the full visibility to say, well, actually, I know that this decreased in there. but it was not real because I know I had a supply issue, for example. And on the other side, we do build capabilities into the system where if we do have a supply issue, there is a priority allocation of the stock. And we can decide what that priority is based on the store, based on the categories, and we can change all of that. So usually what we would do is we would gather all of that information and create little summaries. And hopefully what we are expecting is that now with agentic support, all of that doesn't even need to be done by the planners, but we can get all of that elevated from the agentic capabilities, and we can just share and talk a little bit more with the team. But yes, we have really good visibility. It's important.
Yeah, my only thing to add is as you think about the advances of AI and using AI, explainability becomes very important because one of the barriers to adoption is your teams may say, well, if I don't know how it made this decision or why it made this recommendation, I'm not going to follow it because they're ultimately accountable. Even if the computer is doing the recommending, they're accountable for the impact and results that happen. So we've known this for a while and have been building explainability into our offerings. But with the generative AI, it's so much better because now it's just like you could say, tell me why, and it comes back with a very human, very easy to understand answer, which alleviates some of that concern.
It's really important, what you're asking, because we faced that when we were setting min and max in the system, and the commercial team who used to own that part would come and say, well, why do you put that number? And of course, you can't explain the whole algorithm, but you have to share what are the main capabilities that the system uses to be able to generate that outcome. And because we're embarking on the journey of actually acquiring the supplier ordering now within the demand planning team, it was really important when we explained to them what are the things that the system takes into account. We found the gaps of what they don't take into account and why we were so off sometimes with our ordering patterns. And it becomes clear to them. The moment you see the results, it takes a little bit of time and a lot of change management, but it works because you have the data to support it. Yes. Yes.
Any other questions? Yeah, in the back.
Thank you very much. You touched upon a point of digital twin and electronic label. So just curious to understand, like, how does that information in digital twin really help you to, make decisions in a real world using digital twin or agentic AI capable digital twin? Thank you.
Well, as I said, every product that gets displayed into our stores will have an e-label on it, and it will have all of the information that a customer might want for his journey. But at the same time, it actually shows us a live picture of what is in the store in display right now. And it's only until the store would go and change that e-label that this is removed, and then the next product comes in. So it's really a live picture of what we need to replenish. It's also a live picture of something that's been put into the wrong place. So regardless of the fact that they've done a mistake and they've put, a 10-kilo washing machine rather than a 7-kilo washing machine, which for them doesn't make a difference, but for us and for our customers' journey, it does, really. It's quite important because we now have the visibility to understand that we shouldn't be sending anything else because we're only going to get the problem worse. We never had that before. You can't, unless you're in there or unless you're constantly talking on the phone with the store, which is impossible because you do daily replenishment. You can't rely on just conversations and on just how people, act within the store. It also gets the store a little bit under control because that visibility is now open to the whole of the organization. So there are stores that do really well with how they maintain their e-labels and stores that don't. And then you create a community and you say, well, how come this store is really good and this one is not? Well, let's share knowledge, let's understand, because we should have one face, one to our customer. So it's really helped us given that right level of detail, and it helped us gain that one day, because we always had at least 2 days gap between what we replenished based on the data that we used to get versus what the store really needs.
All right. Last question, and then we're going to be out of time.
Thank you. It's a two-part one. So the first thing is, how did you manage to actually translate the recommendations into your destination systems? And the second thing is, people usually don't want to take their hands off the steering wheel. Even though the recommendation is powerful and right, they still want to keep control of the recommendations being returned to a source system because the accountability is theirs. So how did you go about that for this situation?
For the whole project, you mean in the automation?
Yeah.
Well, we needed to find a clever way to get people to understand, because when you do such a big change, people think that power is taken away from them. And in a way, it is true. But what they don't see is that the moment you take that power away, i.e., you take something that they do that they shouldn't be doing in the first place. Why would a commercial person have to think, what's the min and max in every store, and how much should I hold, instead of doing the best deals with their suppliers and focusing on bringing the most innovative product in? So the moment you get them to realize that you can give them that time back, and you can do it a little bit better, not because they're not doing it well, but because it's not feasible and it's not their job. You have to twist it a little bit. People have to understand what they're gaining from that, not what you're taking. If you focus on what you're taking away, you've lost the game. The only way to do it, if you go down that road, is for somebody to go and say, that's it. If you like it, you like it. And if you don't like it, you're off. But you don't want to go down that road, obviously. So you have to approach them and say, look, you should be really focusing on that contract right now. Okay, what are you doing? Map your tasks. Tell me. And then we'll probably say to you, oh God, I've been sitting here to try and order all of that time, and I don't really know what to order, but I don't want you to do it either. And you say, okay, we will test this. I will do it for you. I will put those min and max. And if I bring you back the sales target you want, because we'll do this together, will you allow me to do a little bit more? And suddenly you get them on board. But it takes time. It takes time. You need credibility. You need to be very resilient. You're going to hear all sorts of things of why they don't want to give that away, for sure. They're very creative on that.
I would say Chrysanthi is an expert at managing this change. And if you'd like to hear more about how she's done it, it's quite masterful. She'll be at our booth, which is kind of on the far right in front of those doors. So please stop by. One other thing, we wrote a research report on agentic and generative AI and supply chain. It's really pretty good. So we've got about 20 of these over there, but you can also use a QR code and just download it. But get one of these. It may help you. But thank you so much, Chrysanthi.
Thank you.
Let's give her a round of applause.
Thank you.